Okay guys, good morning. So I think what we'll do here is we can cut some of these out for simplicity's sake here. And we'll review what we did last period, which was factoring a binomial as the product, a trinomial as the product of two binomials. So we said that we're using this number as our product and this number as our sum. So I'm looking for two numbers that multiply to give me 24 that also add up to 11. So those numbers should be positive 8 and positive 3. For the next one, I want two numbers that multiply to give me 30, but also add up to negative 11. So since the product is positive, the factors have the same signs. Since the 11 is negative, they both must be negative. So I'm going to use negative 6 and negative 5. For number 3, I want two factors of 27 that add up to 12. That should be pretty easy, 9 and 3. And for the last one, we're looking for two factors of 60 that add to negative 19. So I'll use negative 15 and negative 4. So the one thing that we noticed about the last lesson, and we talked about this in class, was all of the products were positive. And if all of the products were positive, it means our factors have the same sign. And more specifically, this gave us the sign of both of the factors. So if this number is negative, they would both be negative, whereas if it's positive, they would both be positive. So we're going to look at today what happens if the constant is negative. Right, so what does it mean if the 15 is negative? Well, it means that our factors are going to have different signs. So what are my factors of negative 15? Negative 1 and 15, 1 and negative 15. Negative 3 and 5, 3 and negative 5. Which of those four pairs, if I add them, gives me negative 2? 3 and negative 5. So it will look like this. So what we notice is if the constant is negative, then the signs are going to be different. And more specifically, whatever this sign is, that's going to give us the sign of the larger factor. By larger, we mean absolute value. Right? A positive number is always bigger than a negative number, but if we're just thinking about the absolute value, like 5 and 3, then we know that in order for the sum of two different sign numbers to be negative, the larger one must be negative. So we're going to do the same thing here. What are two numbers that multiply to give me negative 10, but also add up to positive 3? I'd want to use positive 5 and negative 2. What are two numbers that multiply to negative 14 and add to negative 5? I would use negative 7 and positive 2. And again, guys, if you're not sure, you're going to make a list. So these would be all my factors of negative 14. And I'm going to add each of the pairs, and I'm going to say which pair adds up to negative 5. And of course, it's this one, 2 and negative 7, and the order doesn't matter. All right, now I'm looking for two factors of negative 8 that add to positive 7. That would be positive 8 and negative 1. Now I'm looking for two factors of negative 20 that add to negative 1, which would be negative 5 and positive 4. And guys, I'm going through this obviously kind of quickly here. All right, so you can slow it down as much as you need. You can make a list of all your factors. Now I'm looking for two factors of negative 21 that add to negative 4. I'm going to use negative 7 and positive 3. And two factors of negative 18 that add to positive 3. I come up with positive 6 and negative 3. All right, now something we didn't see with the first lesson, because I usually save it for this one, is what happens if there's an extra variable? Well, we kind of pretend the extra variable isn't there. So I'm going to pretend it wasn't there, which means I'm going to look for two factors of negative 30 that add to 13. So this is a very tricky one, because a lot of you guys are going to use 10 and 3. Positive 10 and 3, which adds up to positive 13, but it multiplies to positive 30, not negative 30, so it's wrong. So we're actually going to use positive 15 and positive 2. Right, because positive 15 times, negative 2. Right, because 15 times negative 2 is negative 30. 15 plus negative 2 is 13. Now what happens if we've got that extra variable? The 15 becomes 15y, and the negative 2 becomes negative 2y, so now it should check. And we'll do the same thing here. I'm going to look for two factors of negative 50 that add up to negative 23. So that's going to be negative 25 and positive 2. And again, guys, any trouble with this, I know you've been using calculators. You can also make a list of factors. And if I want that to be y squared and xy, I just tack on the y. So now when I check it, I get x squared, I get negative 50y squared, and the like terms 2xy and negative 25xy give me negative 23xy. So there's your now try. So I know we're all gonna pause the video and we're gonna grab our pencils, which we've been using for notes, and we're going to factor these on our own. And then of course we'll unpause our video. So 2 factors of negative 27 that add to 6 would be positive 9 and negative 3. 2 factors of negative 20 that adds a positive 8 would be positive 10 and negative 2. Everyone always has problems with these for some reason, right? If 11 is prime, we know it's going to be 11 and 1, and the bigger number, since this is negative, is going to have to be negative, so that would be negative 11 and positive 1. And this is another one that we have trouble with because we forget what x means, that it means 1x. So I'm looking for 2 factors of negative 30 that add up to 1. That would be positive 6 and negative 5. Now we're looking for 2 factors of negative 96 that add to negative 4. So there's not that many factors of negative 96. If you list them all out, you'll get negative 12 and positive 8. And then this last one, we said we're going to factor it normally. So 2 factors of negative 27 that add up to 6, I would say should be positive 9 and negative 3. And since we have the variable y, we just add the additional y, and now it's going to check perfectly. Okay, guys, there is your homework. You're going to factor those 10. Be a good idea to check them when you're done. And hopefully I will see you guys in person very soon.